Howdy, 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 and more howdy to you. Welcome to the Lady Walker Show. I am Lady Walker, and beloved, we have a spectacular show coming at you. He is the CEO and founder of FTC Prevention Services, and he is here to tell us about why he is specializing, especially in youth training and development. Welcome to the show, Marc Fomby.
Thank you very much,
You know,
Lady
that
Walker.
Fomby part, I have to think about home Fomby.
Yeah.
How are you, Marc?
I'm good. How are you today?
All is well, and it is every bit nice to meet you.
Thank you,
We
and
had
nice
such
being
a
here.
great conversation before
Yes.
taping. But before we talk about one of the main reasons why you are here, which is to talk about messages in music,
Mm-hmm.
which is every bit vital for every parent who has children or even grandkids,
Right.
and every child or teen. But let's find out just a little bit about who Marc Fomby is.
Okay.
You are originally from?
Well, I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, but
Okay.
my family's originally from Alabama. We just left there early in my childhood. Grew up in Michigan, moved back to Alabama, and I've been a little bit of everywhere. Lived in Germany a couple of years, Texas, then back to Alabama, and ended up here in Mississippi about 12, 13 years ago.
Okay, so now you're Mississippi grown,
Oh,
so to
yeah,
speak.
yeah. I'm at home. I love,
You are
I
at
love
home?
it here. I love it here.
So before you moved back to Mississippi, you were a police officer.
I was a police officer in Anniston, Alabama for 10 years.
Was that something that you aspired to be growing up?
Oh, well, I always wanted to protect and serve, so I guess you could say that yeah, it was either going to be police department or fire department growing up. And then when I got into it, and after 10 years realizing that I enjoyed the work, but I couldn't take care of my family on the salary. So I had to
Okay.
find something else to do. You know, I was working 3 jobs at one time, so.
Now that is something when you're working 3 jobs
Yeah.
and you have a family, and
Exactly.
so therefore you never really get to see your family that much.
And I was a single parent for a good bit of that time.
Really?
So I had custody of my kids. And
How many?
I actually have 4.
Okay.
2 boys, 2 girls. Yeah.
Okay, was so interesting. Now, your company, FTC Prevention Services, is so interesting because, again, you specialize in youth development and training. Tell us a little bit about the business.
We try to specialize in youth development because, you know, I think about my grandfather when I was growing up who used to say stuff like, he wanted to just relax and watch his grandkids play. And being a police officer and just doing this type of work, I would see people and kids losing their lives, the choices and decisions that they would make. And I didn't have that same dream. I couldn't look at things the same way because, you know, society tells us that by the time I get to be an old man sitting on my porch in my rocking chair, the kids are killing each other today. So I wouldn't have much to look forward to.
Right.
So I thought that this would be the avenue to go because I believe that if you invest in the youth, you're investing in the future.
I believe so.
And I've always had this innate just response and desire to help young people anyway. Even growing up, I've always been that way. I've always been that way. My mom used to tell me, boy, you can't save everybody. I wasn't a bully, but I would bully the bully, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
I was good at throwing my hands. That's what we used to call it back in the day. That's before they started shooting people.
I know.
So, I mean, if you were being picked on, I'd pick on the bully just to show them how it felt to be picked on.
Okay, well, that was pretty good to protect the person, the victim, so to speak.
Depends on how you look at it. You know, getting
Okay.
kicked out of school for fighting, and I wasn't fighting for me, fighting
Okay,
for somebody
yeah,
else.
now that is pretty bad.
My
Okay,
mom
yo,
would say,
yes.
and then she'd find out why or what was going on. And I wasn't fighting for me. I was fighting for whoever. And she'd go, you can't save everybody. So a part of my slogan is, you know, we're changing lives, even if it's one at a time.
And that's good that you can save one or change
If we just
one
save
at a
one, we're
time.
happy.
Because then that one life that you change or influence in a positive way can go forth and do likewise.
And that's our hope. That's our desire.
Okay, so you go out and you speak on various topics.
Yes, various topics. Anything in the field of prevention, alcohol, tobacco, and drugs, crime, violence.
So it's not just concerning, is it just teens only or is it for adults as well?
Well, initially we started off just trying to work with youth, but a lot of the adults started saying, hey, look, we need you to tell us what you're telling those kids because we don't know the stuff you're talking to the kids about. So it has gradually moved into where our predominant business clientele right now is adults. and we train the adults on what's going on with young people. So we still do provide some services for kids, for schools, for example. We go in and do presentations at schools. We just completed a 12-week program, but took 13 weeks to do it.
Wow.
In Moss Point Moss Point School District down on the coast. And that's one of our programs called Changing Attitudes, Changes Behaviors, where we're trying to get the young people. We did 7th and 8th grade students. We're trying to get them to understand the importance of if they think differently, they'll act differently.
That's great.
And the idea, though, is behavior modification says they'll modify their behavior if they're around Lady Walker because they know Lady Walker doesn't play.
Exactly.
But when they leave Lady Walker and they're around, Joe, whoever, they're going to act how they want to act. Well, changing attitudes, changing behavior addresses that differently because we want to teach them how to act and how to behave whenever they're in whatever environment they're in. So if I get you to think about things differently, you'll behave differently. And that's the premise for changing attitudes, changing behaviors.
Now you go out and talk about gangs as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, growing up, you weren't in a gang, but you were.
I was around
what goes on.
I was around it. I have some friends who joined gangs growing up in Detroit, and it was before Crips and Bloods got real popular and Vice Lords and Disciples got real popular. It was Earl Flynn's, Money Makers, YBIs, that type of stuff. So it was around me, but it wasn't anything that I was involved in. For one, my mom would kill me. So, that was the great deterrent. I tell parents all the time that they are the great anti-whatever. They're the anti-drug, the anti-gang, they're the anti-whatever. They just need to understand their role. I knew my mom's expectations for me. So growing up in a single parent home, don't never let it be said that a woman can't raise a man.
I know, because normally they'll say, you will hear that every now and then, that a woman cannot raise, a young boy to become a man or whatever. But you know what? That is not true.
I
there are
don't
some
agree with it
mothers
at all.
who can certainly do that. Sometimes they can do it better than a man can.
Well,
sometimes.
I will say this now. My mom was smart enough to put the right role models in my life as far as men. So, when the summers came, I spent time with my granddad. Summers came, or even if she thought I might need to be checked, it was my uncle. So she put the right role models as far as males around me so that I had some male influence as well. But I knew bottom line,
and those were
mama don't play.
positive male influences that were in your life.
Definitely positive. And that's important.
Now, what about your peers growing up? Did they play a part? And that, because unfortunately we do have, I think about my grandkids, and I have like 9 thus far.
Okay.
And I don't know how that is going to grow. But I think about my grandkids, especially my grandsons and their friends, they are so easily influenced, even though they may have positive role models as far as grandfather and their dads as well, and some of their relatives, but still with being in school and hanging around their peers, some of that negative stuff, and it rubs off quicker and faster than the positive things.
We're talking about 30 years difference here now, though, from me being in school and today. But the peer pressure was there. I was just never one of those people who would succumb to the peer pressure. In fact, I was the leader. I wanted to do my own thing, be my own way, have my own style, whatever it was. And if I felt like I was doing something that was leading somebody else the wrong way or astray, I'd switch what I was doing. And I don't know, I just brought up that way, I guess. I don't know. There's nothing that I've been so good.
There's nothing wrong with being a follower, but you have to pay attention to who are you following. Are these people leading you in the wrong direction?
Right.
And then again, you have to equip the young ones with that information, the right people to follow and the wrong ones to follow, especially concerning their peers.
It's important.
Exactly.
It's important. Kids need to know today they need to lead, follow, or get out of the way, but always know where you're going.
All right.
And when you try to tell them that, and they're like, what do you mean? Well, you're either gonna be the leader and everybody's following you, and if you're gonna follow, at least know where the leader is going. If you're gonna get out of the way, make up your mind that you're gonna get out of the way and go somewhere different, but know where you're going.
I like
so
that.
in all three, you gotta know where you're going. So.
I like that. That is great. That is great. All righty, well, we are going to take a break, and we are going to come back and talk about the main message, which is messages in the music.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Beloved, we will be right back. Welcome back, beloved. My guest tonight is Marc Fomby. Marc is CEO and founder of FTC Prevention Services. My bad on that one, okay?
It's okay.
Okay, now let's talk about messages in the music.
That's one of our most requested topics. It's probably second only to gangs.
Really, because it's like, dude, rap music, does it has a bad influence on our children?
Well, it does. But see, that's a big misconception too, that it's just rap music.
I know exactly, because
So-
when I read, most of the time the focus is on rap music, not rock, not heavy metal,
Right.
and all the other kinds of music.
So we point out that though we bring out the messages in all the genres of music, and we use examples. We talk about what's the top 40 today, and we bring out some of those examples. We play the songs, we talk about the music, and we talk about the messages that's in the music. And I'll say this, I tell people all the time, the method by which they give it to you is the only difference. The same messages you'll find in hip hop and rap, you'll find them in country, rock and roll, heavy metal, blues, emo, screamo, grunge, whatever the message, whatever the genre is. The only difference is they give it to you differently. For example, in country music, people will snap their fingers, they'll clap their hand, they'll pat their feet and sing along with the song, not knowing that the message in the song is just as degrading to women or just as much involved in alcohol as it is if you were listening
at some
to.
point in time.
Well, and it's not as graphic in by the way they give it to you, but if you just listen to the song, for example, Luke Bryan has a song out called Rain is a Good Thing, and it's a country song, and just the title itself says rain is a good thing. So you think he's talking about
Rain coming from the sky, yes.
Well, he is, but that's just the prelude to what he's getting to. He says, my daddy spent his life looking at the sky. He'd cuss and kick the dust, saying, son, it's way too dry. It clouds up in the city and the weatherman complains. But where I come from, rain is a good thing, because rain makes corn, and corn makes whiskey, and whiskey is what makes my baby feel a little frisky.
Oh my goodness.
So when you take the beat away and you just listen to the words, so now you know that he's talking about the rain making the corn and the corn making the whiskey.
Alcohol.
And when I give my girl some whiskey, that's what makes her feel frisky. So then he
Okay.
says, the back roads are fogging up, my buddies pile up in my truck, we hunt our women down, we take them into town, and we start washing all our worries down the drain. What does that mean? I done went and got my girl, I took her into town, we're washing our worries down the drain means we're drinking. We're washing our worries down the drain. And then he says, ain't nothing like the first kiss out back in the barn, wringing out our soaking wet clothes, riding out that thunderstorm. See, and you caught that.
Exactly.
But there's no music. So you caught it just because I'm giving you the
Exactly.
words.
Listening to the lyrics.
Listen to the lyrics, that's it. So he took her into town, they got drunk. Now he didn't even take her back home, didn't take her to a hotel. They're in the barn.
But no one really would call that out as being bad influence on young kids or teenagers who may listen to that.
They don't pay
But
that
rap
one any
music-
attention. They don't pay that
Rap
one any
music
attention.
really does it gets a bad rap about the music.
Well, and I'm gonna say this now, rightfully so, because
Okay.
there's not many positive rap artists out today. There's not most of the music you hear on the radio, and I would venture to say that 98% of it is garbage.
That's a lot.
The messages that our kids are getting, they aren't positive messages. The information that they're sharing. You've got adults walking around right now singing songs that kids know the messages to and know what they mean, but the adults don't or aren't paying any
Wow.
attention. For example, if I said stand up in it, if I said beat it up, that kind of stuff, you know that I'm alluding to something sexual now because we've been having this conversation. But if
Right.
I said that prior to,
I probably wouldn't have a clue.
and there are adults who are walking around not paying attention. They've been desensitized to it, but you got kids who do this and they know to avoid saying that around certain adults because they know the adults might be offended. If you can walk in your child's bedroom and they don't change the radio station, that child's probably comfortable with you listening to music they listen to. But if you walk into a room and your child is grabbing the remote and changing and turning, they know that what they're listening to, you wouldn't be happy with it. And if you look at kids today, 7 out of 10, that's their situation, that's their circumstances.
Wow.
Adult walks in the room, they're gonna change the channel. They're gonna turn the radio.
And it's
they're
so
gonna
interesting
move.
because when you look at 98% of music that's out there with that kind of explicit or whatever, degrading women, glamorizing drugs, alcohol, and all that kind of stuff, it's a sad thing. But as a parent, how do you combat this?
By being informed, getting the education, opening your eyes and your ears. We've got parents who are in denial. And denial, for me, the acronym stands for don't even notice I am lying. DENIAL. So you don't even notice you're lying because you're not paying attention. But we've got situations where you got adults sitting in the car playing songs, and it doesn't have to be rap. R&B, blues, country, whatever it is. Pay attention to the message that they're singing. You can break down songs from anybody that you call out. And again, 98% of the rap songs, I would say, are negative. That's on the radio, but not 98% of all the music.
Okay, rap music.
Country, and I listen to some country, but there's country music that's out there that is not negative. There's some that's out there. There's some rap that you might find that it's not negative or as bad as most of it. But the other genres that are along the spectrum too, the people aren't paying attention to those things. Blues, for example. And if we go back to Luke Bryan, and just to finish off the verse, when he says, the tin roof gets to talking, that's some of the best love we made. See, he's talking about making love. See, and when you listen to the blues or you listen to the rap music, they talking about beating it up, standing up in it, you know, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So they're talking about making love, but they're calling it something different. So when you hear this guy, they're talking about the same thing. Talking about the same thing.
Worded differently.
Gretchen Wilson has a country song that says, when it rains, I pour. And she's talking about when things don't go right in her life, she has a bad day, she pours. She turn out the light, she turn up the wine, she locks her door, because when it rains, she pours. But you'll listen to that song and party along with it and not pay any attention to it. But when Remy Ma says, when things don't go my way and I have a bad day, I sit on the couch and sip Cavassier, people get upset.
Now, how about that? Now, that is really something.
But the difference is how she gave it to you. Remy Ma's
so
cussing
really
every other word.
So you really got to be pretty smart.
Well, people don't pay attention.
In a way where people won't get offended by it.
And that's what I'm saying. The messages are out there.
So it's some kind of subliminal kind of thing?
No, not today. It's blatant. Remy Ma's message is the same as Gretchen Wilson's, but Remy Ma gives it to you by cursing, by calling herself the B word, by every other word is a curse word. So people see just your look on your face
like
now.
She calls herself that in her music?
Oh, yeah. So people are turned off because of her presentation. But people will listen to Gretchen Wilson because of her presentation. But the message is way the same. They're both saying the same thing. Gretchen says, when it rains, she pours. When she has a bad day, things didn't go right that day, she pours. Remy Ma says that things don't go her way, she have a bad day, she sit on the couch and sip Cavassier. She's saying the same thing that Gretchen Wilson says, but how she says it is what makes the difference. There's a lot of stuff that's in music today that we just need to pay attention to.
Right, and of course, we're going to come back and continue along the line of talking about messages in music, because to me, it's a very important subject as a grandparent. Well, of course, as children coming up, when I had my daughters were knee-high to a bullfrog, but now they are grown, but it's important as a grandmom to be cognizant of the messages in the music. Okay. And we're going to come back and continue along this line.
All right.
All right, beloved, we will be right back. For more information on FTC prevention services and speaking engagement, log on to www.marcfomby.com or call 601-939-0020. Welcome back, beloved. My guest is Marc Fomby. Marc is, he has some interesting things to say. Some of these things, y'all are not hearing it. It's off camera, but it's just so, I'm all in it, okay? But welcome back to the show, Marc.
Glad to be
Fomby.
back, thank you.
Marc, I tell you, I am learning so much.
Good, and we need more adults to get involved in learning this.
Exactly, so we are talking about messages in music. Now, when you look at rap music or any music, but people would say, well, I am expressing myself. I'm expressing, this is the way I express myself. So they may not see anything wrong with that.
Let me tell you, there's two problems with that on the surface. And I'm talking about just on the surface.
Okay.
One is they don't understand the videos and the songs that they see. It's usually lights, camera, action.
Right.
So this is something I'm doing to portray an image. For example, for a long time, a lot of people did not know that Lil Wayne talked about that life but wasn't living that life. Lil Wayne
wasn't?
Well, for a long time, it was on the back burner, or he might have been getting involved. I don't know, but he was a psychology major at the University of Arkansas when he got real popular on the front end. Now I don't know what he's doing. I hadn't even checked the last 2-3 years, hadn't checked, but the music has changed, the tattoos on his face has changed, so maybe even the lifestyle has changed. But they missed the fact that the first thing is, it's usually lights, camera, action. So I have to portray something. I'm putting a product out there to sell. The second thing is, the lifestyle that I'm selling, that I'm trying to make you believe, it's to sell records. There's no way that you can tell me that if you talk about Lil Wayne, Lil Jon, Lil Webby, all these little folks that these kids listen to, but you can tell me that they're living the lifestyle that they're singing about down to the T, and then when they do get caught doing stuff or have to spend some jail time, people are wondering how they got caught. It was a setup. Well, if you're listening to their music and if they're really living the lifestyle they're singing about, they're rapping about, that's how they get caught. So people aren't paying, they aren't making the connection. Let's get out of rap altogether. Let's just do R&B, for example. So if I were just to say to you, Lady Walker, you've been waiting so long, I'm here to answer your call. Look, I know I shouldn't have had you waiting at all. It's just that I've been real busy. But I've been thinking about what I want to do with you. Now, wow. I know all them other girls been talking about me and the way I do what I do, but they just heard about me and they want to see if it's true. But you're the only one I want to give it to. Wow. And I can see you want me too. Mm. And then it goes, now you do know I was just waiting on you to tell me that you were ready. Because I know what to do if only you would let me. And as long as you cool with it, I'm going to treat you right. Because right here, it's where you want to be. I know all them other girls been talking about me and the way I do what I do. But they just heard about me, baby, and they want to see if it's true. But you're the only one I want to give it to. And I can see you want me too. Now it's just me and you. How does that make you feel?
Wow. Well, it depends on how desperate I am.
Okay, so you'd have to be desperate for a man's attention. Uh-huh. Now, see, here's the twist to that.
Otherwise, if I am really desperate, I'll be salivating all over that.
Okay, well, here's the twist. Those aren't the words from a man to a woman.
Oh, it's not?
15-year-old girl sang that song. 15-year-old girl. Cassie, me and you. And when you take the beat away and you just do the words like I just did with you, you get girls to look at that totally different. But when you play the song, the beat comes on, they start singing. Now I can't sing, but they start singing. You've been waiting so long, I'm here to answer your call. I know that I shouldn't have had you waiting at all. So and then, oh yeah, I know that song. But if you take the beat away and you don't sing it, you just say the words, it sounded like I was hitting on you. Exactly. And big time.
Yes.
And it's not even a man to a woman. It's a 15-year-old girl. She was 15 when she made that song.
Oh my
So that's just an example. There's all kinds of stuff that's out there. And I tell people all the time, we are destroyed because of lack of knowledge. And that's scriptural. The Bible tells us about this. So when you talk about songs like the real popular, Jamie Foxx and T-Pain made Blame It on the Alcohol. Basically, they're telling you, blame it on something else. We're not going to say you a freak or you this or you. We're going to blame it on the alcohol. But in that song in and of itself, Jamie's saying to him, he's saying, look, I got to get drunk to even take you home. He said, look, he said, he calls the girl's name. He says, look, I hear you saying what you won't do, but everybody here know you probably gonna do. All those things you've been thinking deep inside, girl, go on and let it out. Tell me what you're drinking. Go on and let it sink in. You just here for the weekend? Well, I was thinking that we can see what we can be if you press fast forward. You want another round? Because if you're down, I'm pouring. But while I'm filling up your cup, I'm filling on your butt. Oh, and you don't even care that I thought you was ugly before I got drunk.
Oh my God.
Now, he doesn't say that. He says you don't even care that I was unaware of how fine you was before my buzz set in. But doesn't that say the same thing?
Yes,
Before I got drunk, I wouldn't have talked to you.
Exactly.
And you don't even care.
So blame it on the alcohol.
Blame it on the alcohol.
Whatever.
That's it, exactly. So you try to get people to understand that. And I'm one of those people that I don't try to force feed people the scriptures or religion. But when we start talking about the Bible and scripture tells us there's nothing new under the sun, I break it down to the kids like this. Do you know who Lucifer was before we start calling him Satan or the devil? He was the chief musician in heaven, in charge of praise and worship. So if he was in charge of praise and worship in heaven, what does he know? He knows music.
Right.
So he got kicked out of heaven because he convinced a third of the angels in heaven to start worshiping him instead of singing praises and worship to God. So when he got kicked out of heaven, where did you think he got kicked out to? And the third of the angels, where'd they get kicked out to? Where we are right now.
Wow.
So what are we dealing with now? We're dealing with country music, heavy metal, rock and roll, blues, R&B, hip hop. We're dealing with all these different genres of music. You got kids today who are listening to emo, which is abbreviation for emotional music, which if you listen to it, it probably make you sad, but it's about being emotional. But they say it's not suicidal music, but it will make you think that they're talking about killing themselves.
What?
So if we know that Satan comes to steal, kill, and destroy, he knows music. What better tool to use than music?
Oh my goodness, never looked at it from that standpoint.
So when you try to get kids to understand, I don't care if you're talking about country music, I don't care if you're talking about rock and roll, heavy metal, or blues, whatever it is you're listening to, pay attention to what the messages say. And the first thing they'll say is, oh, you talking about back in the day, y'all used to have them big old CDs, them big black CDs. Now that's how we know how old we are, right? They call our records big black CDs. But y'all used to play them backwards and y'all would hear those messages. And I said, yeah, and the difference is y'all ain't got to play them backwards today. Y'all ain't got to play them backwards. It's right on the radio. It's right there and it's in your face. And we got a lot of kids who are taking all this stuff in and it comes out. And when it comes out, we're trying to figure out why is it coming out. But now, I don't know how old you are, but when you were growing up, did you hear garbage in, garbage out?
Yes, I heard that.
That's what's happening today. So scripture tells us today, you're no longer defiled by what you put into your body, but you are defiled by what comes out of your mouth, because what comes out of your mouth comes out of the abundance of your heart. So what's in your heart?
Right.
So if that's all you're depositing, that's why that's what's coming out. So you got these kids who talk and every other word's a curse word when they get mad. They go to hollering, screaming, and my mama can't calm me down when I get upset. And you got to deal with all those type of issues. It's because that's what they're putting in. They're depositing all that stuff in. KRS-One, who was a real popular
Well, hold on to that,
teacher.
and we are going to take a break and come back and let you finish out what you were getting ready to say.
Okay, no problem.
All right, beloved, we will be right back.
For more information on FTC prevention services and speaking engagement, log on to www.marcfomby.com or call 601-939-0020.
Welcome back, beloved. My guest tonight is Marc Fomby. Listen, you need to hear more what Marc is talking about. You may not get a chance to, well, you will not get a chance to hear everything on this show, but he is so filled with very important information that we as parents, grandparents, and whatever need to know when it concerning our children. So you were saying something before we went on break, and what was that?
I was saying KRS-One, who was a very popular rapper during his time, he was known as the teacher in rapping. He got out of the rap industry as far as making records because he said it changed. Hip hop changed. People making records today and they were making garbage. But he does spoken word poetry now and he's still selling out coliseums all around the country. But all he's doing is speaking. No more rap songs. But in one of his poems, he says, whatever you sing along with more than twice, for sure you're inviting that all into your life. Be careful, young people, what you invite into your life. Be careful, young people, what you invite into your life. Because whatever you sing along with more than twice, for sure you're inviting that all into your life. So he's encouraging them to be careful what they invite into their lives. So this is coming from a guy who made money, made millions of dollars off of planting seeds, but it was usually positive. He did a lot of positive stuff. And he's telling people now, we got to be careful of what we allow to be deposited into our psyche, into our being.
Exactly.
Because it's going in, it's going to come out.
Exactly.
It's gonna come out.
All right, it has been real. Very interesting conversation. So if someone would like to get in contact with you to have you to come out and speak all of that, please feel free to give out that information looking into that camera right there.
All right. It's our website is www.marcfomby.com and that's MARCFOMBY.com. Our phone number is 601-939-0020. We are located in Pearl, 310 Airport Road in Pearl, Mississippi. And we'd be more than welcome to talk to schools, community-based organizations, churches, whoever we need to talk to. We believe in sharing the information. We don't believe in holding the information hostage.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, beloved, we got to go. You know it has been real. Thanks a trip for tuning in. And beloved, I will see you next time on The Lady Walker Show. Ta-ta.